Welcome to JED's Journal Podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Now here's your host, Jim Deedlow.
Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
Good. We're coming up here up on Pierogi Fest weekend. Do you go to it?
You know, I had a good buddy text me yesterday that they're going to get together on a Friday night at one of the corners. He's going to get out there about 3. And there's going to be a bunch of people I know there. I haven't gone the last couple of years. I mean, we were in the parade. It was a big deal. We had a float and all that. We still certainly, and we broadcasted live, but they changed kind of the way you could do it. And so I haven't gone, but I'm going on Friday night, and then I'm taking the kids on Saturday. So everybody in the region should go to Pierogi Fest, especially if you've never been.
Well, it's certainly an iconic event, and it started out many years ago with just a handful of people, and guys like Tom Dabberton built it up. And oh, by the way, this is going to be the last year for him to be in charge of it. I'm sure he'll be involved to some degree, but it has really changed. I mean, I used to go on a Friday for the lunch period because the crowds were not as big, but as time has gone on, Friday lunchtime is tons of people.
Yes. I agree with you. I used to go Friday at lunch, do the sponsors lunch. We're a sponsor of Pierogi Fest, just like about everything else. And then go over and kind of maybe hang out for a little while, stop in at Center Lounge, and then go home. And it was a nice, easy afternoon. But I'm with you. A lot of people are coming out earlier to do exactly what you and I were trying to do, which is avoid the crowds.
Yep. Well, Center Lounge, that's a great spot to check out. If you've never, I mean, that's a throwback to the good old days when there was places, corner bars, and with a family room to serve fish fry on Friday night, and it's another iconic place. If you want to get a little history about how people lived 40, 50 years ago in places like Whiting, East Chicago, Gary, etc. And don't miss that.
Walt, I agree with you. Karen, what up, Holmes? I want to say hello to her son, who I met at somewhere. I met him. I can't remember where. Oh, at Festival of Lakes. And he's like, Jed, I'm just someone who listens all the time and never calls. So Karen, what up, Holmes' son? Thank you for being part of the brigade here. You know, Walt, you bring up something that, I'm starting to kind of turn towards. And I don't know why that is, but there was a way of living in the region that has really shaped us all for generations. And you'll see it along 119th Street. You can see it in some of the local bars. You could see it it's still on the floors of the steel mills and of BP and some of the construction trades. But we really come out of very hardy stock. I mean, I was looking at some ancestry stuff over the weekend to try to figure out about my own family. Someone had asked me some questions. And then I realized that I guess it would be my great-grandfather, came to 1906, came to East Chicago just to work in the steel mill that had just been built or was being built. And I wonder how many people, when they go back and they look at here's my family. Oh, so-and-so came here in 1906. Evidently, there was one of the biggest migrations ever into the Calumet region in 1 year just to work at that steel mill.
A study was once done about East Chicago on the languages and dialects that were spoken in East Chicago, and they found there were 100 languages and dialects spoken in East Chicago at one time. And another thing about East Chicago, in terms of the steel mills, the impact that had, whether it be the primary steel producers or other businesses that use steel, and that is that there was very much a live and let live attitude. I mean, it was truly diverse, people from many different backgrounds, Catholics, Protestants of all kinds, Orthodox, Baptists, and so forth and so on. So
you know what? Well, I know a gay guy. I don't even know if he's still alive. I haven't seen him in years. But he said that it was pretty easy to openly walk around gay in East Chicago, which is kind of odd for the time if you think about it, and that there was a reasonable gay and lesbian population in East Chicago for all the way through the war years and into the 50s. Isn't that kind of crazy? Especially with all of the, kind of anti-gay sentiment that's out there right now and that pops up from time to time. You wouldn't think that all these hardy people working in the steel mill would be tolerant of alternative lifestyles. But if you really think about it, they're just working so hard. They're probably like, I don't care what you do. Just let me get some sleep. And maybe that's not a bad attitude. But anyways, go on. What were you saying?
Well, and people had a strong sense of loyalty to whether they be from the East Chicago side and supported East Chicago Theodore Roosevelt High School football, or if you lived in the harbor side and you supported strongly the East Chicago Washington basketball. And but there was also a strong sense of loyalty to their immediate neighborhood. I know bicycling around, you could go anywhere you wanted to, but if you stopped somewhere, there would be somebody walking up to you and saying, where are you from? What's your parents' name? What are you doing here standing? Get going. Okay, we took off. But
it is, and there have been films. There's been films. Steve Tessich tried to make it in Four Friends, kind of paint that aura about East Chicago. And I just wonder if some of that's being, really East Chicago and Gary even, but a lot of the Gary people moved out to Porter County, and then they moved down to Crown Point, and everybody kind of goes directly south. And a lot of the East Chicago people have wound up in Highland and in Sherrville. Yeah, those are hotbeds of former EC people. But there is as much as I make fun of it because my wife's from EC, and there was I don't like the thought of anybody looking at her before I met her. But, and the fact that they used to beat me up when I would come over from the Hammond side. But there is a certain mystique about East Chicago that cannot be escaped, and quite part of it, as you brought it up, is part of its acceptance of the different races, different nationalities, different sexual orientations. It just was kind of everybody just kind of lived, and hey man, we're just trying to make rent or make our house payment. And when you're all thrown into that one mission, the other stuff tends to fade away. Do you agree? Yeah,
I would say so. If you sent your kids to school clean and good order, behaving themselves, supported your church or synagogue, you were somebody in East Chicago. If you didn't do those things, well, there was another kind of treatment. But could I move on to a political issue?
Yes, please do.
Well, New York is the Democrats elected in the primary a fellow by the name of Zoran Mamdani, sometimes referred to Mamdani the commie kind of thing. Is a very controversial guy. Now, Democrats in the coastal areas, they seem to be delirious about his success as a Democrat standard holder. But I think in the heartland Democrats, I suspect that there's a different opinion. You have close ties to the Democrats. Have you seen any response to them about the idea of Mr. Mamdani being a standard bearer for the Democrats in New York City, and if he were to be successful as mayor, that the Republicans would exploit his political shenanigans?
Well, Walt, you've been around a long time, and tend to see the world in kind of like Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, and to some extent, I agree with you on that division in America. But as I look at it deeper about like the phenomenon of Donald Trump, I don't know as if that tells the whole story. I think there's kind of like a personality cult attraction from Trump because he's such a strong-willed leader, at times very egocentric, but he plugs into the kind of feelings that many people in America are having, and then there are a lot of people that kind of just follow him and whatever he says, and if he were to turn liberal all of a sudden, they might even follow him there because they're following the individual and not the public policy principles behind it. Now, on the other side, they don't have that. They don't have a political messiah. And I just wonder if one will emerge. And
on the Democrat side,
on the Democratic side, and the part of the problem on the Democratic side is that you have such a structure of wait your turn, and this is how we do things. And quite frankly, the Democratic Party has become the party of the wealthy, and you don't have a path to an energetic individual rising to the top, no matter if they're really left like Mamdani is, or if they're really kind of trying to be eccentric like the guy in California, centrist, what's his name? I don't look at it as much anymore. You and I have been talking for a long time about, Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberals. To me, what is emerging in America is that we want someone that is going to, it could be very chaotic, it could be very destructive at times, but we want someone who's just going to say it how it is and doesn't really care, and even the policies might even be against our own good, but we don't care. We just want someone to help us out and show us some leadership. And that's what Trump's doing. Now, I believe that, I have the Weezer podcast, and you should go listen to it, because I try to pin Jim Weezer down about, like, what is going on with Democrats and what do you see as the future. And to me, they have to cultivate that. Trump showed them how to do it. American people want somebody, a strong-fisted leader. And you could have that on the Democratic side if you guys just weren't such a bunch of process-oriented people who said, oh, my gosh, I got mine, I better keep it, and aren't going to let some of the new energy come up. It's just not made for that. So Mamdani, whether he's a Democratic socialist or whether he's just a really far left guy or maybe he comes to the center, it doesn't really matter. What matters to me is, will he be allowed to rise as someone who hits the table and is the strong-fisted leader? What do you think?
Yeah, I think personality matters. You have people like Obama had a strong personal appeal. John Kennedy did. But
Ronald Reagan did.
And Trump does. Now, when I walked into the Griffith campaign office for Trump, when he first ran back in 2016, I was astonished to see that almost everybody who were volunteers manning the phones, mainly women and so forth, but they were clearly Democrat background kind of people. And then we had a table set up with all kinds of bumper stickers and so forth. And who was coming in? These were Union Democrat guys, including some blacks. And I remember saying to some of these guys, I said, "What are you guys doing here? This is a Republican campaign office." And they looked at me and they said, "We're not here for the Republicans. We're here because of Trump. He's going to save the steel mill, and he's going to save our jobs." And the women who were there, when I asked them, "Why are you supporting Trump?" "To save my husband's job." that was the main thrust.
Even though it may not even be true, it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, the truth in a lot of this doesn't matter. It's not, I mean, you have unfettered, unfiltered information going into people's minds every day. There's nobody watching the flow of information on all of these social media places. And so when you do that, it really doesn't matter if things are true or not, or I mean, one of the good ones was this big, beautiful bill. I mean, I'm not really even sure what's in it other than the fact that it cuts Medicaid or Medicare and that it hurts a lot of poor people. And they still voted for it, and overwhelmingly. And that is very telling about what American people want. And most of the poor people in America are now voting for Trump, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. The Democrats don't learn from this. They just don't. You know what I mean? They become very complacent, unable to look at even on here. It's all conservatives that call in because all the people that are liberal and Democrats are like, they go hide in their little cubby holes and they're content with what they have. And then they're just going to let the other side win. That's how it is. There's no. So when you come back to Trump and Mamdani, he's not going to go anywhere. I mean, he's not going to play well in Indiana, but somebody could, because people are not happy with Governor Braun and this Micah Beckwith guy. That he's really out there. But I don't know. I met the guy. We laughed and had jokes here and stuff. He came in here, and I'm like, this guy's going to go somewhere. I mean, he's got the tools, he's got the age, he's got the people behind him, he's got all the churches, and what are now kind of establishment Republicans that are into the MAGA Trump thing, they got to watch out for guys like this Beckwith guy. It's really interesting, Walt. Hey, Walt, I got to go. I got so many things to do. But if you guys are listening to this at another time, which you will, I'll cut that up. It was recorded in late July of 2025. Thanks a lot, Walt. All right, I'll take a short break and be right back on the Voice and Face of the Region. AM 1230, WJOB 104.7 FM. My name's Jim Diedlow in the middle of summer, just hanging out with you. Really kind of not much happening in terms of schools and traffic. There is none. It's crazy. Here it is on Tuesday, July 22nd at 6:37 in the morning. And the amount of turmoil in America is kind of simmers underneath the surface. It kind of just hangs out where you can't see it, but you know it's there. What is it in the offing? Or will we be roaming around the gloaming, or are we already there? I don't know. I'm Jed. I try to make some sense of all of it, but it doesn't always work because all I really want to do is come in and screw around, and then there's so much gosh darn stuff to do that we don't really do that. We just kind of have to talk about serious things. But I'm very serious about this swig of coffee I'm going to take right now, and I'm going to do it with you. If you're sitting home alone and you're like, well, I'm listening to this jamoke or watching me on TV, let's have a swig of coffee together. What do you think? We are essentially a construction union radio station. That's where I come from. Started as a laborer. I got a little office over there. If I really want to work on a project and not be bothered, I'll go over and sit in the back of Labor's Local 41 Hall. It does not endear me to all of the other trades, but at least you know where my heart is. You know what I mean? If not my laptop on a hot day sitting in the back. Part of the problem about going over to the hall at Labor's Local 41 is all these jamokes want to talk to me. Now, I love talking to laborers, believe me. But when I'm there to get a a cup of coffee with quite possibly the most caffeine of any coffee in America and go in the back room and get my stuff done. But I just can't get away from all of the little scuttlebutt. And, hey, what's going on, Roach? Hey, Sparks, what do you got? And, what's happening? And maybe once in a while I go to the union meetings. If you want me to come out to your union meeting, I would love to, because what I do is I go and say, hey, listen, I'm not here to sell you. If you guys want to buy advertising on these games, you already have contacted me, or you don't want to. But I just want you to download the JED TV app on your phone and on a smart TV in your living room and watch the games. Because the high school games around here are often much more entertaining than college or even the pro games that you're going to watch on Saturday and Sundays. If it's football, there's volleyball that is on during the week, and there's soccer during the week and on Saturdays. In the fall, it is just a really rich time to be watching things on JED TV. And then we go into the winter, and you get basketball, you get some wrestling, you get, a little bit of swimming even. And then you go into the spring, and we thought we would get a break last year, but baseball and softball were so doggone good that our numbers were very often bigger for baseball than they were for basketball. Or softball than they were for girls basketball. So it's a year-long thing, and I think a lot of people at some of these at some of the companies are noticing it, and we appreciate it. But anyways, it's 69 degrees at Plumbers Local 210 right now. And if you want me to come in and talk to your group, I will, or one of Peter or Sam will, just to basically say, hey, here's what we're doing. We're trying to get the kids, the students, onto TV. We're being successful at it, but we need more people to watch, and we need more awareness and that kind of stuff. And there will be some announcements about that in the near future, as I'm working my ass off to get that done, along with Sam and Peter and Andrew and a whole bunch of other people, Adriana.
You've been listening to JED's Journal podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Thank you for listening.